Welcome to Illustrated Beards, brought to you by the Fantasy Shop, best in comics and games since 1981. I'm Jason, and we are going to hear talking about some comics. My co-hosts for the evening are Nikki and Kelsey Busler. So the comics we have chosen to review this evening are Batman Superman number 5, Cataclysm Ultimate's Last Stand number 1, Amazing X-Men number 1, brand new X-Men series replacing Astonishing. So, we'll start with Amazing X-Men. How about that?
Of course it will.
Yeah, we're going to start with you. This is how it's going.
Okay. All right, so I picked Amazing X-Men because one, Nightcrawler's back, and I'm so excited.
It is pretty
I can't
exciting.
contain my grin. The story is really great. The beginning intro just kind of like recaps like Nightcrawler's life.
They also used the old art, which I liked too.
Yeah, I love
the intro
that.
page. Yeah, the intro page has the
exact
different artists that did Nightcrawler throughout the years.
And the interactions between the characters, like we see Nightcrawler kind of in this land that we're not really sure where he is.
You could probably
guess
infer it's heaven. Just based on what we know of how the Marvel Universe and comics in general have defined heaven and hell, it's always kind of an alternate dimension. She calls it paradise. Like there's a woman that he's talking to. There's also someone who's in this paradise, and she makes a mention of it being paradise. He's kind of in a funk at the beginning of the story.
And he's supposed to be in paradise, and he's just like, he's sad.
She makes a mention of it. There's something that he left behind in his life. It's worth saying that when we see him start fighting, he's happy again.
Yeah.
Invaders come and attack heaven, and they bring with them like swords. And so yeah, he immediately is kicking swords out of a guy's hand so he can have swords because that was his thing. Yeah. Azazel makes an appearance, and if you don't remember, the introduction of Azazel was a story where they told us Nightcrawler's origins. Mother is Mystique, and his father is Azazel. Well, Azazel in the Marvel Universe is essentially the devil. His whole thing was he would go to Earth and he would mate with human women to get these teleporting children that could open up this rift and bring his forces through to invade Earth. It's very appropriate that he's a part of this first chapter of the Return of Nightcrawler. We've seen his realm. His realm is represented like hell, and that's where they teleport through when they're teleporting. That's why the smoke smells of brimstone.
I like to, when Nightcrawler's sitting on the cliff,
he
gets that smell and he instantly recognizes. He's like, wait, that smell.
That's
and then
brimstone.
and he like knows. So I thought that was pretty cool. Cause
we go to the school and we see
Firestar.
Yeah, and she's gonna be a teacher. We love the interactions when she gets to the school between all the X-Men characters from Wolverine and the X-Men.
there was some really good exchanges between some of the characters that we know. The whole Storm Wolverine thing is something that, you know, is kind of a question mark for me. It's like, I don't remember that happening. Like,
it happened.
I don't remember that.
Wolverine and the X-Men. It was crazy.
So is this a defiant act by Storm to kind of piss off Black Panther?
I think so. I mean, because when he said that's when
Wolverine?
she went.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but the scene between them in this, Wolverine and Storm, is seriously, it's funny. It's so good.
It is quite hilarious, and it's also a little PG-13.
And poor Firestar, she's in the middle of all of this and she has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, first day on the job, and like she's already like worried that it's gonna be weird, and then she's like, I don't know, I'll give it a try.
I know that it's probably killing you that she's the one they're gonna use to replace Kitty.
It's killing me so bad. I cried.
She's dying a little bit inside.
A little bit. Jason Aaron's, why did you do this to me?
Can we also just say that Beast is by far hilarious.
He's a psycho.
I was dying, like I was
literally,
giggling at every
so
scene.
bad.
I mean, read the line, because the line is what really is funny.
Okay, so Beast says, I will murder them all where they sleep.
And if you know Beast, you know that's not a line that should ever come out of his mouth. No. They were building the school and using Shi'ar technology, and they ripped some kind of hole into some other dimension, and all of these little mini Nightcrawlers that they're calling Bamfs came through, and they're like mischievous little things, and Beast is pissed off to the point where he wants to murder them because they stole his coffee maker.
In which he named Eleanor.
Right, his coffee maker has a name.
It has a name.
But there are these mischievous little things, and they've kind of been a big question mark in the Wolverine and the X-Men story. And I think in this book, we finally get a little indicator as to what they've been doing.
It's great. Like, they came in the first issue, and it was all leading up to this book.
Yeah, I mean,
here.
Jason Aaron had a plan. He definitely
did.
was working toward a goal. They're definitely here for a purpose, and we have that question mark as we get to the end of the book. Is that purpose to bring Nightcrawler back?
Right.
And they're obviously afraid of Azazel, and Azazel has his own little bamfs. They're little red ones, and they say murder and kill and eat your face, and they're really scary.
Yeah.
That's true. Those are true. You quoted that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it winds toward a pretty interesting conclusion that definitely raises more questions than it answers.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too.
This is gonna be a new ongoing book from Marvel. I think it's replacing Astonishing X-Men, if I'm right. This story is just 5 issues. We'll see what happens next, but definitely a fantastic read. Amazing X-Men #1 from Marvel. It's on the shelf now, man. Check it out.
It's
bringing
really
back
good.
the classics.
Yeah.
Character that's been the heart and soul of the team.
Cataclysm.
Ultimate's Last Stand #1.
Yeah, this one was really good. Really quick read. Very, very quick.
It did,
Done in like a minute or two. Like,
there was a lot of pages that really had no real dialogue on them other than,
no! Yeah. That and just a lot of art. Very vibrant colors. Very nice art.
Mark Bagley was the guy who gave birth to this universe. Him and
Yeah.
Brian Bendis conceived of this Ultimate initiative, and they were the first ones to do it with Ultimate Spider-Man.
So basically, we're not sure if this is going to be like trying to come to the end of the Ultimate universe, which I'm pretty sure it is. Like, it's talking about like how they bring in Galactus and how he's going to come and like eat the world.
Yeah,
so
Galactus,
not good.
if you don't know, is the planet destroyer. The only reason in the regular universe he's not destroyed Earth is because they have an accord with him. The Asgardians, Captain America, they all kind of have a deal with Galactus. That he can do what he wants to planets that are uninhabited by any form of real sentient life. The planet's core is what feeds him, not the people that live upon it.
Right.
You know, back in Age of Ultron, the heroes essentially abused time travel too much and broke the timeline. So a lot of people were displaced from their own universes and thrown into other realities, and Galactus is one of them. Galactus kind of came through a rip in time-space into the Ultimate Universe, you know, realized he was in a new place, and then hungered for a planet.
Yeah.
Right, he's almost like taking advantage of like, oh, I don't have this pact anymore. I
Right, these people don't have
want.
a deal with me. Yeah.
You just really have that big like question mark of what's gonna happen in this. If they're like, maybe they can find a new pact with Galactus, maybe they can. Or
I don't
is he
think so.
gonna-
I think
yeah,
after those,
I'm thinking this is gonna be because I mean like he squishes them. I mean it's
He does.
like. I mean,
When
one
the
of the lines in
Ultimates-
here is like, "Oh, I clearly think we are overpowered."
By the time the Ultimates actually make their appearance,
It's
he
already gone.
stomps them.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
pretty shot to hell.
He just stomps the crap out of them. You know, way back when the Ultimate Universe tried to do their own version of Galactus, and their version was this cloud of sentient machines that would come to your world and would convert all to their own form of sentient machinery. They were the Borg, the Cybermen, or any of these robotic things we've seen in science fiction that want to convert all to their way of life. When the real Galactus appeared, they sensed his power. Well, upon trying to consume him, they realized he's too powerful, and he ended up merging with them. So not only is he the Galactus that we knew, but he's also got these sentient machines that he's kind of sending out as his herald. His power has doubled. It's interesting to see, you know, how they fit something that they created as a parallel to this into something that was actually real from the Marvel Universe.
Right.
So.
This doesn't have as much like banter and dialogue as like Amazing X-Men. Most of it is in the beginning with Miles, who in this universe is Spider-Man. Really not as much dialogue in this. Just mostly like crash, boom, oh no. You know, and
this is a
like,
setup for all
yeah,
those
definitely.
So
So
like,
this
it was
is
an introduction.
Each Ultimate comic is going to have a 3-issue miniseries that ties into this, and this series itself, I think, is 5 issues. This issue is literally just a setup for something much larger that they're building to. Like I said, every series is going to tie into it. The first issue, if anything, will show us that this is not a fight the heroes can win, and if they can win it, they're not going to win it easily.
If the Ultimates do win, it's gonna have, like you said, a lot of sacrifices, and I feel like kind of one of those times like, okay, maybe it will be another like treaty or like
I think it's gonna end in like a devastation type
I
way.
think it's going to end the world.
I think it will too. Even like the little dialogue, like giving you the little subscript of what's happening. I mean, he says he's here, he's hungry, he will feed. So it's just like, like that's literally he will feed. So it's just like I feel like this is going to be kind of the the overall. But overall, really, really good art, really good setup.
Yeah, and they bring back
Really
the team
good.
of Bendis and Bagley, which is great. I mean, they gave birth to it.
Yeah, so.
But yeah,
Good read.
Ultimate Cataclysm, The Ultimate's Last Stand, #1. Check it out, because we can all agree, pretty cool book. Batman, Superman, #5. Start of a brand new story. They finished up the kind of Dark Side, Earth 2 story that they were doing before. But first and foremost, this feels very much like what that old story used to be. The banter between Batman and Superman, the banter between Clark and Bruce, feels very much like it used to, and I think that's great, because that was what made that book. On the one hand, you have this guy who's very dark, and then you have Superman, who's very much kind of a Boy Scout character. But other than that, I mean, opening it up immediately, you realize as you turn the pages, the format of this book has changed. It is not read typically like a comic would be read. It is read literally cinematic, widescreen style, I guess.
Yeah.
We were talking about this too. We can't decide if this means that, like, we feel like it's almost less actual story to it, because, like, okay, it's all widened and elongated. Like, all the pictures are much larger, which is really cool for, like, attention to detail. But, like, we couldn't decide if it's like, okay, is this actually minimizing the amount of story you get?
Right.
Or is it about the same? You just, like, don't realize it because it's a different format.
Right. The setup in it is, Superman and Batman dealing with two separate things. Actually, Batman dealing with one of Superman's villains.
Yeah.
John Corbin, who... They're not calling him Metallo during this story. Metal Zero is what they're calling him, but he's essentially Metallo. I mean, he's John Corbin. He's got a core that powers him that's made of kryptonite. So he's a really interesting enemy for Superman. But Superman, because he's an alien, because he's got all these powers that no one else on the planet has, he sometimes has to deal with the bigger problems. And there's a meteor shower coming to destroy the Earth. So Batman is left to deal with John Corbin, which is, again, a cool contrast, because they have a back and forth where they talk about how he dealt with him and how Superman would have done it. In any case, it's just, that's one of the things that used to make that old Superman-Batman book really good, was their back and forth, because they're friends, but it's
Two different styles.
Yeah, I mean, they're night and day on how they do things. But the big thing I want to talk about this book is the reintroduction of the Toy Master. I am so excited about seeing the Toy Master again. They put a spotlight on him in the initial story of the old Superman-Batman book. He was an ally, in that respect. This kind of sets him up, not really as an antagonist, but as kind of an annoyance. Looks like a classic, like, video gamer type kid, the kid that's on the cusp of technology. And so they come up with this video game that they're calling, I guess, just Kill the Batman.
Yeah.
They don't give it any other title than that. They don't ever give it a name. But very quickly, something happens that changes how you look at this kid and what he's doing, how it affects Superman and Batman's life. And also, they introduce us to, well, I guess reintroduce us to a villain that has been like a classic DC villain that he had his own villain month title, Mongol the Destroyer, if you will. I mean, that's who he is, and he's the Genghis Khan of this world.
Yeah.
He is a conqueror, and that is what he does. He has a big spaceship that he flies around in called the War World, but it's literally a Death Star. And it doesn't destroy your planet by its sheer force of power. It destroys its planet because he literally houses within it armies. Armies bigger than any army the Earth has to fight him. The Toy Master gets caught up in it, and that's something that, it's almost silly. It's almost laughable that this little kid gets caught up in this fight between a supervillain and two superheroes. And with a book like this, I mean, you need a challenge that is worthy of both of these characters. You have to up the ante.
Right.
You have to find some character that will challenge them both. In a real way.
I don't want to spoil anything, but, like, just keeping the Toy Master's assistant in mind throughout this book.
Keep your eye on that chick in the background.
Keep your eye on her. I think she's got something tricky up her sleeve.
Yeah, like, I'm not, like, a huge fan of Batman and Superman, but I do have to say that this story was really good. Like, I really enjoyed it. And, like, I felt like I didn't have to read, like, the other 4 before that. It was really good. And I absolutely just love this.
Yes.
The parallel.
Yes.
The
I
beginning.
love this page. I love
It
this
sets
art.
up the thematic element of the book by showing you the cross section with Batman on one side and Superman
and,
right
like,
down
this
the middle.
one.
And I think that's why they're using this kind of cinematic format, because it lends itself better to that idea of having two separate stories going on at the same time.
And that's kind of how you read the book the entire time, like more in like columns rather than
Rather
the
right
rows.
panels,
Like you're literally reading it in columns.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting story. I'm pretty sure, just based on some upcoming covers I've seen, they're going to stick with this format for a little while. And Greg Pak has been doing an amazing job with this story in general. Brett Booth is a new artist. He's taking over on the pencils for this, and I love his art. I know a lot of people aren't really big fans of him because his art's kind of anime in a way. It's cartoony.
Is he the drawer of this one?
Yeah, Brett Booth is
I really liked how
artist.
it
I
was
like
on.
it. Again, kind of what we thought about Mark Bagley. I mean, this guy's very vibrant. He does a lot of colors. And he does a lot of things. I mean, it catches your eye. It keeps your attention the whole time. But again, then it winds to a pretty interesting cliffhanger. I mean, comics, they do that. They're trying to get you to come back for more. I'm very intrigued to see where this story goes. Not only because I'm a fan of the two characters and their relationship with one another, but I'm also a fan of Mongol and the Toy Master. And all of these elements being put into one story and Batman and Superman having to deal with them should be really interesting to see. But Batman Superman number 5. I believe they have a hardcover of the first 4 issues. It'll be one of those thin, more moderately priced hardcovers. So if you wanted to check out the first 4 issues, they will collect it here pretty soon. So that brings us to the end. I would like to thank Nikki and Kelsey for sitting in with me. As always, it's a pleasure. You might remember them from season 1.
Maybe.
It was kind of last minute getting you guys on the show. Like they came into the store and I was just like, "Hey, be on the show."
Like, okay.
Yeah, but it worked. But thank you all out there for sitting here and listening to us talk about all things nerdy. So we'll see you next week.